Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you're having a wonderful day today. Today we'll be jumping into some I Don't Work Here Lady. Our first story today comes to us from Matrucious. Karen landed me a potential future job. Let's jump right in. When I was younger, around 14, I always wore collared t-shirts, often used as uniforms at most electronics stores. I had just started a simple job elsewhere and was going to use my savings and first payment to buy my first self-built gaming computer. So I was in a computer electronics store trying to learn and make a few plans. Doing this as efficiently as possible, I like to get hands-on, and it helps me think and plan better. As I was crouching over components like Gollum, trying to select my own components for the very first time, this lady came up to me and tried to get my attention. Me hunching over, knee-deep in my own thoughts, she asked me if I work here. As I was as focused as I was, it slightly startled me and I jumped up and only managed to come up with a short, as I was going to ask her what she just said, not being able to actually make out the question she just asked. She continued to ask me if I could help her, and I don't blame her considering my appearance. Me just having entered the job market, I had received some service experience and figured I might as well. The question probably couldn't be that hard, right? The following interaction ensued. Yeah, sure, what do you need? I'm trying to find a laptop for my son, but I am completely lost. Seems fair enough, and a reasonable question to ask anyone with my appearance, regardless of me working there or not. Oh, okay. Were you thinking school laptop or general use? Well, it's more of a gaming laptop really. Oh, okay. Do you have a budget or any other information that might be useful making a decision? Yeah, I have a budget of insert mid-tier budget here, and I know he plays Team Fortress 2 and Roblox. Having just spent a few weeks learning and recently acquiring the knowledge of what parts are important for what, I could confidently answer, oh great, that doesn't necessarily require the most expensive computer on the market. Have you looked at any options? Getting a slightly frustrated tone, no, that's what I came here to ask about. Well, have you looked at any of the laptops displayed at the section over there, pointing to the 2 rows of demo laptops closer to the registers? She was getting even more frustrated. No, I have no idea what I'd be looking for. That's why I came over to ask. Okay, I'm sorry. Well, anything between a lower amount than budget and your budget would probably have what you need. Just look for relevant specs at the time, and it would be more than enough for him. Can you join me so I'm sure? Figuring at this point it shouldn't be a considerably longer interaction, and I could get back to my things, just point out 3 options at 3 different prices and I could leave. So I accompany her over to the laptop section. Okay, so which ones would be an option? Point to 3 different laptops, make an effort to explain the differences in a short but precise manner. After concluding, I consider myself done. Beyond that, you could really just pick based on your budget. As I'm about to leave, she says, so what can you do on pricing here? A little confused, quickly realizing the mistake that has just happened. Oh, I'm sorry. I think there's a misunderstanding. Oh, come on. I know you guys have some leeway on the prices. What's the best you can do? No. You see, don't you dare be more condescending than you were earlier. That should account in the price too. Probably referring back to when she was getting flustered in the first place. I'm a bit taken aback about what just happened. But I know you do. I know you can get a better one. If you just work out whatever you have to. What about that one? Can we do 20% here? That seems reasonable. You'll have to talk to, fine, direct me to your supervisor, but you're coming with me. I don't work here. What do you mean? Why else would you be helping me? Now come on, let's bring this to the register and get something done. As we proceed to the checkout, which was rather close, she is literally dragging my tiny little body along as I make an effort to explain the mishap. When we then get to the register and a worker sees this lady literally trying to push me behind the counter, they ask what is going on. Well, this young man is going to honor his word and sell me this laptop at a 20% discount. Oh, he doesn't work here. Well, why has he been helping me and promised me a 20% discount then? Your company is now responsible to keep that. I tried to tell you I don't work here, and whatever the case is, I will have this laptop for this price. I don't know what happened over there, but worker continued to explain what is about to happen next. I managed to slide away as I see a manager approach. From what I could make out as I'm lingering in the area, trying to get back to my things, the lady got upset and left in a bit of a hurry. As I was getting back to my things, the manager approached me, and me thinking I was in trouble, I was about to apologize for making the lady think I worked there. He assured me I had nothing to worry about, and he had in fact watched me deal with this situation and told me some customers are like that with the real employees too. He apparently admired the way I explained things to her and asked if I ever needed a place to work, I would be welcome back. I appreciated it, finished my planning, and left. OP mentioned in the comments that they built a magnificent gaming computer, but there was something else that was mentioned down there as well. It said, the manager gave you a very good reason not to go and work there. He watched a Karen get her claws into another customer and did nothing about it. What a cowardly, crappy manager. Do me a quick favor, have a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're not actually subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. Our next story today comes to us from Typhlosion112191. Coming soon to a theater near you. Let's jump right in. Saw a post about a customer going to a remodeling company because they sold the same brands as the contractor who built their home. And it reminded me of this. Back when I was in high school, I got a job at one of the 3 local Blockbuster stores in my town. This was almost 10 years ago. I stayed with my store 3.5 years before it closed down due to the complete incompetence of Dish Network. As this was in the early days of or before streaming services, YouTube was still fairly independent of Google, Netflix was only sending scratched up DVDs through snail mail, and there weren't 15 apps on one device to be opened and watched a few hours each year. We were naturally the best place to get movie rentals when they hit DVD and Blu-ray. We didn't even have competition in my town outside of the Redbox rental stations and Netflix's mailbox rentals, so it was either come to us or wait for one of the other guys to get the same movie if they had it. The real problem for my store was that there was a movie theater just a couple of blocks away, and their sign was close to my store, as both this theater and my Blockbuster were close to a major highway in the city. As a result, myself and my coworkers would always have to deal with exchanges like this. Hi, I'd like to rent insert movie that isn't in theaters yet. Do you have any copies of it? No, ma'am, we don't. That movie hasn't been to theaters yet, so it hasn't been released on DVD yet. But I saw this movie mentioned when I watched this movie. Holds up a recent new release they rented the day before. Yes, ma'am, that was the trailer for that movie. It is set to come out in theaters within the next month or two, so we do not have it available to rent. So will you have it in a month or two? No, ma'am, it'll be in theaters at that time. We won't have that movie available to rent until about 4 to 6 months from now. If you don't have it to rent, then why is it being shown on the movie I rented from you? We do not control what the movie studios put on the DVD as featured trailers. Afterwards, they would either rent something else or complain that they'd have to go to another Blockbuster in the area and ask for the film there. Though we'd also tell them no other store would have it yet. Even better were the times people came to us and asked for the movies listed on the movie theater sign, to which we'd then have to explain that we weren't the movie theater. I did a stint working at Rogers Video when I was a very young teenager, and I can confirm that there are definitely people this dumb that come into that store on a daily basis. Our next story today comes to us from Where's the Eggman? Do I really work here after all? Let's jump right in. I stopped by a big box electronics store to look for a new computer monitor on my way back to my office from a court appearance. I left my suit jacket in my car but was wearing a tie. Somebody walked up behind me and said, "Hey, I bought this dang thing here," and I turned around to see an old guy with a big red nose that looked like somebody had jammed a potato into the middle of his face. You know the type. He reminded me of the Chris Farley character who lives in a van down by the river and probably spends most of his day waiting for kids to walk on his lawn so he can yell at them to get off of it. Before he could finish his sentence, I said, "Wait a minute, that's no way to start a conversation. You need to start over," and turned back to looking at the monitor. "Don't turn your back on me," he yelled. I looked over my shoulder and told him, "Until you decide to show some common courtesy, I'm not talking to you." By that point, several employees were watching from a distance. I exchanged quick smiles with a couple of them, so it was clear they were just enjoying the show. Potato Nose really started losing his crap. "I'm a customer of this store," he bellowed. "Look at me when I'm talking to you." "I don't care if you're the Queen of England," I replied. "I've already explained how this is going to work. Either you start over by calmly saying, 'Excuse me, may I speak to you a moment?' and I'll respond, 'Of course,' and give you my undivided attention. Or you can continue to rant and rave and I won't put up with it. Your choice. That's it. Where's the manager? I'll have your job. Even if I wasn't self-employed, you couldn't have my job, I replied. First, you'd need a 4-year degree, followed by 3 years of law school. Then you'd have to take the hardest bar exam in the country, with a pass rate around 60%. I really doubt you could do any of that, because you couldn't even figure out that I'm a customer too. And all the employees wear identical polo shirts. But I'll tell you what, I will find the manager to point you out and tell them you're incredibly rude. So if you try to complain about any of the employees, they'll know any problems are your fault. As I walked away, one of the polo-shirted employees who'd been watching rushed up to me, giggling with excitement. "That was awesome," she said. "I'm the manager and I wish I could do stuff like that. Just let me know what you're buying and I'll give you the employee discount." She almost fell over laughing when I said, "Wait a minute, does that mean I really do work here after all?" So it sounds like in OP's actual profession that they deal with a lot of shady characters and ones that might try to cut them off. It seems like they have a lot of experience trying to get people to calm down and treat them like real people. It honestly reminded me of my mother when I was growing up. She'd get me to calm down, breathe for a moment, and then say again what I was so worked up about. I even do this with my kids now, and it works a charm. Our next story today comes to us from Anonymously Animalist. I get expelled from the university I don't go to. Let's jump right in. Let's clear some things up. I constantly get lost. Without Google Maps, I would probably be wandering somewhere around my street for ages, stranded from home. There was a sign with the logo of the restaurant I wanted to go to and a door next to it. I didn't notice that the sign was pointing to a gate to go around the block, not inside. I walked in and noticed that it doesn't look right, but continued to walk ahead, looking for pointers. It's quite cold, so obviously, I was wearing a heavy winter jacket. I turned the corner and saw a group of people standing around this old guy. I understood by that point I'm completely lost and wanted to turn back. Unfortunately, the old guy noticed me. He yelled at me that I'm late again to his class and I'm wearing a jacket. I tried to tell him that I'm not his student, but he cut me off. "Who do you think you are?" he yelled, his face getting red from anger. "I told you repeatedly to leave your jacket in the cloakroom, and you're again late this week?" I tried to explain myself again, but he waved me off to be quiet. "Just get the hell out, and don't even think about going to any university in the city. I'll tell them what kind of a person you are. You're wasting my time. You should think about going back to preschool. Get out." I was scared by this point and evacuated. I feel kinda bad for the guy he thought I am. Poor dude. But on the other hand, maybe I should think of this encounter as a premonition. I wanted to enroll in some university next year, and I actually didn't finish preschool. Free future reading for me then. By the way, I found the restaurant, but my order was cold when I got there. I think in this case, you should find out what university that professor worked for, because that is not professional behavior at all, and should be reported immediately. Our next story today comes to us from Terribly Gentlemanly. Mistaken for a butler? Sutler? Let's jump right in. I was invited to the wedding of a good friend. Now, it is worth noting here that I feel the people do not dress appropriately for things like weddings and churches and so forth anymore, especially in my country where it can get very hot at times. I always say that a gentleman is naked without a tie, bow tie, cravat. For the wedding, I dressed in a black double-breasted jacket with black trousers and shoes, a white dress shirt, and black bow tie. I noticed I was the only one there wearing a bow tie. I was about 27 at the time and had short and neatly combed hair, a neatly appointed beard, and lightly waxed mustache. Having done several kinds of dancing and service, I'm always in the habit of standing erect with good posture and tend to raise my eyebrows politely and attentively at any woman or any man who has not confirmed himself to be a bounder. As the guests at the reception were coming back to their tables with their food, a lady tripped on the step and dropped her plate, scattering food across the floor. Taking the napkin from my table, I swiftly made my way to her and, genuflecting, began to wipe the back onto the miraculously unbroken plate with great facility. I folded the dirty side of the napkin inward, draped it over my arm, in which I already held the plate of ruined food, used my free hand to collect the knife and fork, and stood up again, looking at the lady with an expression intended to say, "I'll get rid of all of this for you. Is there anything else you need ere I go?" She thanked me profusely and went back to serving tables for another dinner. On my way to deposit the items I had gathered, I was stopped several times, every time by a man asking about wine and champagne and corkscrews and whether I could bring them such things. The waiters had their own completely different uniform and were all a good 8 years younger than I suppose I did look rather like a butler. I don't think you can honestly blame them in this situation. I mean, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck. Finally, I'd like to refer to this little exchange in the comments where it says, "You sound like a knob," and OP replies with, "Where are your manners?" And somebody else replies with, "You sound like a knob, sir." Check out all 5 OPs linked in the description down below. I thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.